Ravi and his wife Meena had been waiting for this day for a long time. They finally bought a small but beautiful house on the edge of town. The road to the house was lined with tall green trees, and the air felt fresher than the busy city they had left behind. For Ravi, this new place was more than just a house. It was peace, freedom, and a chance to build something of their own. For Meena, it was a safe corner where she could restart her life without being judged for the past she never shared openly. The moving truck was parked near the driveway. Meena carried a box filled with books, carefully balancing it as she walked toward the front door. Ravi was inside, arranging the sofa in the living room. The sound of birds in the yard and the warm sunlight made the day feel calm. Everything seemed perfect, but not everyone in the neighborhood was happy to see them. Across the street, Karen was standing near her window with a sharp gaze. She was the head of the homeowners association. For years, she had treated the neighborhood like her personal kingdom. She believed that every plant, every lawn, and every car had to meet her rules. She had already printed a copy of the guidelines for the newcomers but had not yet introduced herself. Instead, she watched with suspicion as Meena carried another box inside. Karen noticed no moving permit displayed in the window, no official notice on the mailbox, and she felt annoyed. Karen spoke softly to herself, almost like she was reporting, strangers moving in without notice. No paperwork. This is against regulations. Without a second thought, she picked up her phone and dialed the local police. Her voice carried urgency as she told them that something suspicious was happening at the new house. To Karen, it was not just boxes being carried in. It was a violation of order, and she wanted it stopped before it even began. Meanwhile, Ravi stepped out to help Meena with a heavier box. His face was full of excitement, and he smiled warmly at her. "Just a few more trips and then we can sit down for tea," he said. Meena nodded, brushing a strand of hair away from her forehead. She felt safe beside Ravi, but in her heart, she carried a secret that even he did not fully understand. Moving here was part of her plan to leave that secret behind. The sound of tires rolling over the pavement broke the calm. A patrol car stopped in front of their house. Karen immediately walked out of her yard, folding her arms as if she had been waiting for this moment. She gave a quick nod toward the officer, showing him the direction of the couple. The tall officer stepped out of the car, his uniform crisp and his eyes sharp. He walked slowly toward Meena, who had just lifted another box from the truck. "Excuse me," the officer said firmly as he approached. Meena turned, her eyes wide with surprise. She set the box down carefully, unsure why the police were there. Ravi also walked closer, confused and a little worried. The officer's expression changed the moment he saw Meena's face clearly. His eyes widened, and his voice lowered to a whisper, as if he did not want anyone else to hear. He leaned slightly toward her and said, "Wait, is that Ghost Viper?" Meena froze on the spot. Ravi looked between them, puzzled, not understanding what was happening. Karen, standing proudly with her arms crossed, expected the officer to scold the couple for breaking neighborhood rules. Instead, she saw him staring at Meena with disbelief, almost like he had recognized someone far beyond her imagination. Ravi frowned and asked, "Is there a problem, officer?" His voice carried both politeness and confusion. But the officer did not answer him directly. His focus remained on Meena, who stood still, her hands trembling slightly. The name he had whispered echoed in her mind. Ghost Viper. She had not heard it spoken aloud in years, and she never wanted to hear it again. Karen, growing impatient, tapped her foot and said loudly, "Officer, These people moved in without permission. They are breaking rules. You need to deal with them. She smiled, certain that justice would be done in her favor. But the officer raised his hand, signaling her to stay quiet. His eyes still locked on Meena as he tried to process the situation. In that moment, the peaceful new beginning Ravi and Meena had dreamed of started to feel uncertain. Their plan for a simple life in a quiet neighborhood was already threatened. And the secret that Meena had kept buried was about to rise to the surface, beginning with a single whisper from a stranger who knew exactly who she really was. Meena stood still, her heart racing as the officer's whisper repeated in her mind. Ghost Viper. That name was a shadow from her past, one she had buried deep, hoping it would never return. She kept her face calm, but inside she felt a storm rising. Ravi, unaware of the weight behind those words, looked at his wife with confusion, waiting for some kind of explanation. The officer straightened his posture, trying to hide the shock in his eyes. He cleared his throat and said loudly, "Good afternoon, sir, ma'am. We received a call about suspicious activity. Is everything all right here?" His voice was official now, but Meena noticed the way his hand trembled slightly as he adjusted his belt. He knew who she was, and that unsettled her. Karen, standing nearby, felt pleased with herself. She believed her call had already proven her authority. "Officer, I told you," she said, pointing at the couple. "They moved in without paperwork. This neighborhood has rules, and they cannot just bring boxes in like this." Ravi frowned. He had tried to be patient, but Karen's tone was irritating. "We are only moving our things," he replied calmly. "We bought this house legally. We have all documents." He turned toward the officer. "I can show you if needed." The officer nodded slowly, but his eyes flickered back to Meena. "That would be good," he said, though his voice carried more tension than the situation required. Meena noticed and decided to remain silent, letting Ravi handle the talk. She quietly picked up another box, hoping the moment would pass. But it did not. As Ravi walked inside to get the paperwork, the officer leaned slightly toward Meena again. His voice dropped to a whisper. "I know who you are. I saw the file years ago. They said you disappeared." Meena froze for a second, gripping the box tighter. She whispered back without looking at him, "You are mistaken. My name is Meena. I am not who you think." The officer did not argue, but his eyes said otherwise. He stepped back when Ravi returned with a folder. Ravi handed over the purchase documents, and the officer checked them carefully. Everything was in order. There was no reason to question their move. "Looks fine to me," the officer said at last, returning the papers. His tone was calm, but his mind was not. He tipped his cap slightly and looked at Karen. "Ma'am, there is no violation here. Please allow them to settle in peace." Karen's eyes widened. She was not used to being dismissed. "What do you mean no violation? They did not ask permission from the HOA. They should be fined." The officer shook his head. "That is a matter for your association, not the police. Legally, everything is fine here." He turned back to Ravi and Meena, gave a short nod, and began to walk toward his car. But just before he reached the door, he glanced once more at Meena, and she knew this was not over. When the car drove away, Ravi sighed in relief. "Well, that was strange," he said. "At least it is settled now." He smiled at Meena, but she could not return it fully. Her mind was spinning. Karen, angry and unsatisfied, stormed back into her house. She mumbled under her breath, promising herself she would keep a closer watch on her new neighbors. As the evening sun dipped low, Ravi and Meena sat on the porch, sipping tea. Ravi tried to lighten the mood. "We survived day one in this neighborhood," he joked. "That should be worth celebrating." Meena forced a smile, but her thoughts wandered back to the whisper. Ghost Viper. She had worked for years to erase that name. In another life, far away, she had been part of something dangerous. Something that required skills she had promised never to use again. The officer had recognized her. That meant her past was not as hidden as she believed. And if he knew, others might know too. That night, after Ravi fell asleep, Meena sat by the window, watching the quiet street. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound carried meaning. She remembered missions in dark cities, coded messages, and people who vanished when secrets were exposed. She whispered softly to herself, "This life is supposed to be different. I am not Ghost Viper anymore." But even as she said it, her heart told her the truth. The past was already knocking at her door, and soon Ravi would know that his wife was not the simple woman he thought she was. The next morning, Ravi woke early to continue unpacking. He was cheerful, humming a tune as he moved furniture around. To him, the house was a dream coming true. But for Meena, the house already felt like a place where shadows could enter at any time. She had barely slept, her mind replaying the officer's whisper again and again. She tried to stay calm. Ravi was her strength, and she did not want him to sense her fear. She joined him in arranging the kitchen, smiling whenever he cracked a small joke. Yet inside, her heart carried the heavy weight of memories she wished to forget. Across the street, Karen was at her window again. Her eyes were sharp, and her lips were pressed tight. She felt humiliated after the officer dismissed her complaint the previous day. She told herself that these new neighbors were trouble and that she would find proof. She began noting the times they went in and out, what boxes they carried, and even what groceries they unloaded from their car. Karen believed this was her duty, but it was closer to obsession. By afternoon, Ravi decided to step out for some supplies. He kissed Meena on the forehead and said he would be back soon. As soon as he left, Meena sat down on the couch, staring at the floor. She knew the officer's eyes had not lied. He had recognized her. She could not ignore it. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps on the porch. She looked up and saw the same officer standing outside, this time without his patrol car. He was in plain clothes, blending into the neighborhood. He knocked lightly. Meena hesitated, then opened the door just enough to speak. "What do you want?" she asked softly. The officer kept his voice low. "My name is Arun. I was with the task force years ago. I know who you are. Or at least who you used to be. Ghost Viper." Meena's jaw tightened. "That name is dead. You should leave." Arun shook his head. "I am not here to arrest you. I am here to warn you. Some files never close. There are people still searching. If I recognized you, others will too. It is only a matter of time." Meena's breath grew shallow. "Why tell me this?" Arun's face softened. "Because you saved lives once, including mine. I never forgot. But you need to be careful. Your past will not stay hidden forever." Before Meena could reply, Ravi's car pulled into the driveway. Arun gave her a quick nod and walked away, disappearing around the corner like an ordinary passerby. Meena closed the door quickly, trying to compose herself before Ravi stepped inside. Ravi entered cheerfully, carrying bags of groceries. "The shopkeeper gave me a discount because we are new here," he said happily. He began unloading items while Meena pretended to smile. Inside, her mind raced. She wanted to protect Ravi from the truth, but every moment made it harder. Later that evening, Karen spotted Arun near the street and grew even more suspicious. She thought, why would a plain man visit their house and leave so quickly? She wrote it down in her notebook, determined to gather evidence. In her eyes, the couple was already hiding something. As night fell, Ravi and Meena sat in the living room surrounded by half-open boxes. Ravi looked at her and said, "We finally have our own place. I want us to build memories here. No more struggles, no more fear." Meena forced herself to nod, but she could not forget Arun's warning. She walked to the window and stared at the quiet street once again. A simple neighborhood to Ravi, but to her it was a stage where the past and present were about to collide. Upstairs, she opened a small wooden box hidden in her suitcase. Inside lay an old silver locket and a folded piece of paper with coded numbers. She had promised herself never to touch it again. But the moment she held it, the weight of her past came rushing back. She whispered to herself, "If they are coming, I need to be ready." And somewhere in the distance, unseen eyes were already watching the house, confirming what Arun had feared. The name Ghost Viper had not been forgotten. The next day started like any other. The sun shone brightly, children rode their bicycles on the street, and Ravi trimmed the small bushes near the porch. He looked content, happy to shape their new home into something warm and welcoming. Meena, however, carried a different mood. Her eyes often drifted to the street, scanning every passing car, every unfamiliar face. She remembered Arun's warning and could not shake off the feeling that eyes were following her. Across the street, Karen was not letting go of her suspicion. She had spent the night reviewing her notes about the new couple. To her, everything felt strange. Meena rarely spoke, and the officer's visit in plain clothes bothered her more than anything. Karen told herself she had a duty to protect the neighborhood from secrets, but in truth, she was driven by curiosity and control. By mid-morning, Karen marched over with a folder in her hand. Ravi greeted her politely at the gate. "Good morning. How can I help you?" Karen adjusted her glasses and said, "According to HOA policy, every new resident must register their details with the board. You did not attend the last meeting. You also have not submitted the form." Ravi smiled kindly. "I am sorry. We were busy with moving. I will complete the form today." But Karen's eyes shifted to Meena, who stood quietly behind him. Meena avoided her gaze, pretending to arrange a flower pot. Karen's instincts sharpened. She believed she was right. There was something unusual about this woman. When Karen left, Ravi chuckled. "She likes rules too much. We will just follow them and avoid problems." He returned to his work, but Meena felt her chest tighten. She knew Karen's attention was dangerous. One curious neighbor could open doors she wanted to keep locked forever. In the afternoon, while Ravi went to the hardware store, Meena decided to take a walk. She hoped the air would calm her mind. She passed children playing, waved at an elderly couple, and walked toward the park at the end of the street. But she noticed a car parked with its engine off. The windows were slightly tinted, and though it looked ordinary, she felt someone inside was watching. She slowed her steps, then turned back quickly toward her house. Her instincts, once used in places far away, whispered warnings. Someone was indeed keeping an eye on her. Back at home, she locked the door and pulled out the small wooden box again. Inside, the coated paper seemed to stare at her like a reminder. She had once belonged to a world where information could save lives or end them. She told herself again, I will not go back, but the fear in her chest told her she might not have a choice. That evening, Ravi returned cheerful as always, carrying paint samples. We should decide on colors for the living room, he said with excitement. He noticed Meena looked pale. Are you all right? She forced a smile. Just tired. Moving is harder than I thought. Ravi nodded, trusting her words, and began spreading the color sheets on the table. For him, life was simple and hopeful. For her, every sound outside the window was a reminder of the past. Meanwhile, Karen sat in her living room, flipping through old community records. She looked for any detail connected to Ravi and Meena. Her husband, who was used to her habits, sighed and said, maybe they are just ordinary people. Let them be. But Karen shook her head. No, something is off. I saw the way that officer looked at her. He knew her. She decided she would dig deeper. She even planned to check public records at the town office. For her, this was no longer about rules. It was about uncovering a secret. That night, Meena stood by the window once again. She saw Karen closing her curtains across the street. She saw shadows moving near the parked car at the corner. She held the locket from her wooden box and pressed it in her palm, as if seeking strength. She whispered softly, if they are coming, I cannot hide forever. And in the distance, under the cover of night, someone clicked a camera, capturing a photo of her silhouette in the window. The next morning, Meena woke up early. The sunlight spilled across the floor, but it did little to ease the tension in her chest. Ravi was already in the kitchen making tea. He moved quietly, humming a tune, completely unaware of the storm brewing in her mind. Meena sat at the table, holding the locket she had kept hidden. It reminded her of the life she had left behind, a life that now seemed closer than ever. Arun's warning and Karen's suspicious behavior had made her realize that her past could catch up at any moment. She had believed that moving to a quiet neighborhood would be enough to escape, but that hope was fading. Ravi placed 2 cups of tea in front of her. I thought you might like something warm before breakfast, he said with a smile. She smiled faintly, appreciating his thoughtfulness, but it did not reach her eyes. After breakfast, Ravi went to work on the garden while Meena stayed inside, unpacking more boxes. She carefully arranged some personal items on shelves, trying to make the house feel like home. But every sound outside, the rustle of leaves, the distant bark of a dog, even the soft hum of a passing car made her tense. By late morning, a black sedan parked discreetly down the street. Meena noticed it from the window. She knew enough from her past experiences to understand that it was not ordinary. She quietly closed the curtains and moved to the kitchen, pretending everything was normal. She could not risk Ravi noticing her worry. Across the street, Karen saw the sedan too. She immediately assumed it belonged to the new neighbor's relatives or perhaps a visitor. Her curiosity grew. She grabbed her notebook and binoculars, determined to record every movement. In her mind, the story of these new residents was slowly becoming a mystery she had to solve. At noon, Ravi came in with a tray of water and snacks. You should eat something. You look tense. Meena nodded and accepted the snacks, careful not to spill them. I am fine, she said softly. Ravi set the tray aside and picked up a small paint sample. We need to decide on a color for the living room today. I think it should be something bright, cheerful. Meena tried to focus, brushing her thoughts aside. She helped him lay out the samples. As they talked about shades of blue and green, she caught a glimpse of the black sedan again. This time, a man stepped out and looked directly at their house. She ducked behind the curtain, heart racing. Ravi noticed her sudden movement. "Meena, what is it?" She shook her head. "Nothing. Just a bird outside." He accepted her answer, thinking she was imagining things. But inside, Meena knew it was no bird. It was a reminder that someone from her past, or someone interested in it, was already tracking her. Later in the afternoon, the power briefly flickered. Meena jumped slightly, but Ravi laughed. "Must be a small outage," he said, heading outside to check the circuit box. She stayed near the window, watching the street carefully. That evening, Meena prepared dinner quietly. Ravi hummed again, unaware of the danger that surrounded them. Karen, still glued to her window, wrote down notes and made plans. She was certain there was more to these neighbors than met the eye. As night fell, Meena finally sat on the porch, gazing at the quiet street. The black sedan was gone, but the feeling of being watched lingered. She held the locket tightly and whispered to herself, "I cannot let the past touch us. Not here, not now." Somewhere in the shadows, the unseen eyes of the mysterious observers remained. The name Ghost Viper had drawn attention, and her quiet life in this neighborhood had already started to attract danger. Ravi joined her on the porch, bringing 2 cups of tea. "The first week is almost over. Things are starting to feel normal," he said. Meena smiled softly, holding her secret close. "Yes, normal," she said, though she knew deep down that normal was just a word. The storm of her past was slowly closing in, and soon, it would demand that she face it head-on. The next morning, the sun rose slowly, casting golden light across the quiet street. Ravi stepped outside, watering the small flower garden he had planted the day before. The house seemed peaceful, ordinary, almost as if the events of the past days were nothing but dreams. Meena watched him from the window, trying to calm the nervous flutter in her chest. She had barely slept. The black sedan, Arun's warning, and Karen's constant surveillance weighed heavily on her mind. Every sound in the neighborhood made her alert. She wanted to talk to Ravi about it, but she could not reveal the truth, not yet. He did not deserve to be caught in the dangerous past she had left behind. Ravi carried pots of soil to the backyard and hummed happily. To him, life was simple: home, garden, and the promise of peaceful days ahead. Meena forced herself to smile, watching him, but her heart remained tense. She knew that quiet streets often hid secrets, and hers had followed her here. By late morning, a soft knock came at the door. Meena froze. She had not expected any visitors. Ravi was still outside, and she hurried to open the door carefully. Standing there was a man in casual clothes. He looked ordinary, friendly even, but something in his eyes made her instinctively step back. "Hello," he said politely. "My name is Arun. We met yesterday. May I come in for a moment?" Meena's mind raced. Arun, the officer who had recognized her as Ghost Viper, was standing at her doorstep. She nodded quickly. "Please, come in." He entered and glanced around, noticing the unpacked boxes and simple decor. "You have settled quickly," he said. "But I am afraid your past may have followed you here." Meena's lips pressed together. "I am not Ghost Viper anymore," she said softly. "I have left that life behind." Arun nodded, understanding her words, but his face remained serious. "I know. But people never forget." There are others looking for you. They know your name. They know your skills. You cannot stay hidden forever. Meena's hands trembled slightly as she placed the locket from the wooden box on the table. Arun noticed it. That belongs to you, he said quietly. Yes, Meena whispered. It is the only link to what I cannot forget, even if I want to. Ravi returned from the backyard, wiping his hands on a towel. He stopped as he saw Arun sitting in their living room. Who is this? He asked calmly. Meena stepped forward. Ravi, please listen. Arun is a friend. He is here to warn us. Ravi frowned, confused but trusting her. Arun explained carefully, keeping his voice low. There are people who remember Ghost Viper. They do not know she has left that life behind. But if they see you, they may come looking for answers. Ravi looked at Meena, sensing the weight in her eyes. You were someone else. Meena nodded, finally realizing she could not hide it anymore. Not anymore. I am Meena now. But my past is not done with me. Ravi remained silent for a moment. Then he took her hand gently. Whatever it is, we will face it together, he said firmly. Arun nodded, impressed by Ravi's calm. You must be careful. Karen, for example, is curious. She watches too closely. It is not just strangers, people you know may stumble onto your secret before you are ready. Meena's eyes widened. Karen. Yes, Arun said. She is innocent in her mind, but curiosity can be dangerous. You need to be ready for anything. As the afternoon passed, Ravi and Meena discussed precautions. Arun gave them advice on safety, how to notice if someone was following, and how to remain calm in unexpected situations. Meena listened closely, realizing that the peaceful life she had dreamed of might require strategy and alertness. Later, when Arun left, Meena stood by the window again, watching him disappear down the street. She knew this was only the beginning. The shadows were at the door now, and she could not pretend they were not real. Ravi remained by her side, unaware of the full danger that lingered. That night, Meena placed the locket back in its wooden box. She whispered softly, I will protect this life, no matter what comes. Outside, somewhere beyond the quiet street, the unseen watchers moved silently, waiting for the right moment to strike. The night was quiet, almost too quiet. Ravi and Meena sat together in the living room, unpacked boxes pushed aside, the soft light from the lamp casting long shadows on the walls. The tension from the past few days lingered in the air. Meena held the locket in her hand, remembering Arun's warning and the whispers that had followed her since they moved in. Ravi noticed her silence. You have been quiet all evening. Are you thinking about the past again? He asked gently. Meena nodded slowly. Yes. It feels like it is not entirely gone. Things I thought were buried might still find me. Ravi reached for her hand. We are here together now. Whatever comes, we will face it. She smiled faintly, grateful for his support. But just as she placed the locket back in the box, a soft sound came from the porch. She froze and looked toward the door. A figure stood there, partially hidden by the shadows. Her heart skipped a beat. Ravi got up cautiously. Who is there? The figure stepped into the light. It was Karen. She held a camera in her hand and looked nervous, but determined. I just wanted to know the truth, she said. I saw the officer. He looked like he knew you. Meena felt a mixture of relief and worry. She had expected strangers, not a curious neighbor. Karen, she said calmly. It is better if we talk inside. Karen followed them into the living room. Mina took a deep breath and decided it was time to tell the truth. She looked at Ravi, who gave her an encouraging nod. I was someone else before, Mina began. Years ago, I had a different life. I was called Ghost Viper. I worked in situations that required special skills. It was dangerous, and I promised myself I would leave it behind. This life, it is my new beginning. Karen's eyes widened. She did not fully understand, but she sensed the weight of Mina's words. So, all those boxes, the careful moves, it was more than just a new home. Yes, Mina said softly. It was a way to start over. I wanted peace, a life without fear. Ravi held her hand tighter. And that is what we will have. Together. Karen looked down at her notebook, realizing she had judged Mina unfairly. I am sorry for assuming things, she said. I did not know. I only wanted to make sure the neighborhood was safe. Mina nodded. I understand. Curiosity is natural. But secrets from the past are sometimes dangerous. It is best not to interfere. Karen smiled faintly, a little embarrassed. I think I understand. I will step back. The room was quiet for a moment. Ravi finally spoke, breaking the tension. Now that the truth is out, we can focus on our life here. No more hiding, no more whispers. Mina felt a sense of relief. For the first time since moving in, she could breathe easily. The shadows outside had not disappeared entirely, but with Ravi by her side and Arun's warning in her memory, she felt ready to face anything. Days passed, and life began to settle. The neighbors came by to welcome Ravi and Mina. The black sedan never appeared again. Karen kept her distance but occasionally waved from across the street. Arun checked in once, a brief nod from a distance, reminding Mina that someone knew she was safe. Mina and Ravi worked together to make the house a home. They painted the walls, planted flowers, and even set up a small vegetable garden. Every day, Mina felt a little freer, a little lighter. The locket stayed hidden, a reminder of who she once was, but not who she had to be now. One evening, Ravi and Mina sat on the porch, holding hands. The street was calm, the sun setting in warm colors. Mina rested her head on Ravi's shoulder. I am glad we are here, she whispered. Ravi smiled. This is home. Nothing from the past can take it away. And for the first time in years, Mina believed it. She was Mina now, not Ghost Viper. The past had followed her to this quiet neighborhood, but with courage, truth, and love, she had reclaimed her life. The shadows had been there, but they had no power over her new beginning. Life in the quiet neighborhood finally felt like peace, and Mina knew that as long as she had Ravi by her side, she could face anything. The locket remained in its box, a silent reminder of the past, but the present was brighter than ever. Mina smiled, watching the stars appear above their home, and whispered softly, "This is my life now."